In the Gnostic texts found at Nag Hammadi, especially in the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, there is an extraordinary revelation that the traditional church has worked tirelessly to hide. A technique that Jesus taught only to his closest disciples, a skill that, when mastered, completely changes our perception of reality and the forces that operate invisibly around us. Mary Magdalene describes in her Gospel a vision where she ascends through 7 realms, and at each portal, an entity tries to stop her. When questioned by the other disciples about how she managed to see these entities, Mary reveals something revolutionary. Jesus had taught the chosen ones to open the eyes that see beyond normal vision. Not an abstract spiritual vision, but a real physical vision, using our own carnal eyes. What makes this revelation so powerful? It's simple. When you can see these entities with your physical eyes, they lose their main weapon, invisibility. The Archons, as they are called in Gnostic texts, are not powerful because of their strength, but because of their ability to remain hidden. They operate at frequencies that most humans cannot naturally perceive. This allows them to connect to your energy field, influence your thoughts, manipulate your emotions, and you will never know they are there. Every negative impulse, every irrational fear, every self-destructive thought, you believe they are all your own, when in reality many are implanted. But the moment you can see them, when your physical eyes detect these entities operating beyond normal vision, everything changes. Because we cannot be manipulated by what we are consciously observing. We cannot be controlled by something we recognize as separate from ourselves. What is most fascinating is that Jesus did not teach the chosen ones merely to sense the Archons. He taught them to see them with open eyes in full waking consciousness, not during meditation, not in altered states, but in everyday reality, because that's exactly where they are, right here, just outside the frequency our eyes are programmed to detect. And the moment you learn to adjust your visual perception, even slightly, they become visible. This visibility is what they fear most. More than any prayer, any ritual, any spiritual practice you might perform. To understand why the Archons have invested so much energy in remaining invisible to human perception, we need to understand something fundamental. They are not naturally invisible. They are not ghosts or incorporeal spirits. They have form. They exist in dimensions that overlap with material reality, but operate at frequencies slightly shifted from what human eyes were designed to detect. And this displacement is intentional. It's part of the design of the perceptual prison in which we live. According to the Gnostics, when the demiurge, the false creator deity of this material world, created the human body, he ingeniously designed the eyes to see only a small fraction of what truly exists around us. You can only see the electromagnetic spectrum between approximately 380 and 700 nanometers, which we call visible light, but reality doesn't cease to exist outside this range. Infrared is here. Ultraviolet light is here. And the Archons exist at frequencies only slightly offset from what your eyes can naturally detect, close enough to interact with you, far enough away that you can't see them doing so. Think about how much easier it is to control someone who can't see you. You can stand behind this person and whisper thoughts into their brain, and they will believe those thoughts originated from within themselves. You can generate emotions in their energy field, and they will believe those emotions are their natural response to situations. You can connect cords to their energy body and drain it, and they will simply feel mysteriously tired without knowing why. Invisibility is not merely an advantage for the Archons, it is the foundation of the entire control system. But here is what the Gnostics discovered, and what the Church tried to hide. The human eye is more flexible than the demiurge intended. Yes, it was designed to see only a small fraction of the existing frequencies, but it can be trained. The mechanism is already there. You don't need new eyes. You need to activate a capacity that your eyes already possess, but which has been suppressed since creation. Because if all humans could see the Archons, the energy feeding system would collapse immediately. You cannot feed on someone who is watching you feed. You can't manipulate someone who sees your hand on the controls. The chosen ones who learn to see the Archons report the same experience. The moment visibility happens, the power dynamic is reversed. Before, You felt attacked by invisible forces without knowing where they came from. Afterward, you see exactly what is happening. You see the entity. You see the point of connection. You see the energy cord. And the moment you see him, the Archon knows you are seeing him. And he panics because his cover has been broken, and Archons operating without cover are weak, desperate and easily neutralized. The technique Jesus taught is not about developing spiritual clairvoyance. It's about expanding the reach of what your physical eyes can detect. And the mechanism is simpler than most people imagine, which is why the church needed to suppress it so aggressively. If it were complex, if it required years of training, they could have allowed it to exist as an esoteric practice that only mystics would concern themselves with. But it's not complex. Most of the chosen ones activate this ability within the first 7 days of proper practice. And once activated, it doesn't switch off. You can't ignore what you've learned to see. Your eyes don't just receive light, they interpret frequencies. And that interpretation happens in the brain, not in the eye. The eye captures the data, but the brain decides what counts as real and what is filtered out. Since creation, your brain has been filtering out frequencies where Archons exist, not because these frequencies aren't reaching your retina, but because your brain has been programmed to categorize them as visual noise and delete them before they reach consciousness. But this filter isn't permanent. It's malleable. The way to recalibrate it is to train your visual attention to notice what is normally discarded. You've probably already experienced this without realizing what you were noticing. You are alone in a room, the lights are low, and in your peripheral vision you see movement, a shadow shifting, a shape that doesn't belong in that environment. You turn to look directly at it and it disappears. Many people dismiss this as imagination, pareidolia, tricks of the light. But the chosen ones who have learned to see recognize what this truly is. Their peripheral vision momentarily detected an Archon before their central vision filter arrived and eliminated it. Peripheral vision works differently from central vision. Central vision is sharp, focused, optimized for detail. Peripheral vision is optimized to detect subtle movements and changes in the environment. Peripheral vision has access to a slightly wider range of frequencies than central vision. This is why you see things in the corner of your eye that disappear when you look directly at them. Your peripheral vision captured something that the filter of central vision doesn't allow. The technique Jesus taught exploits that space. You're not trying to see Archons with direct focus. You are training your peripheral awareness to hold on to what it's detecting long enough for your conscious mind to register it. And once your brain realizes that what it's filtering is consistently present, not random, not imagination, but real presence, the filter begins to relax, and then you begin to see them, not just in peripheral flashes, but in sustained perception, with eyes fully open, in normal waking consciousness. I'm going to share the technique now. It's called the gentle gaze, and all mystical traditions that have taught students to see non-physical entities use some version of it. If you practice this daily for 3 to 7 days, you will see your first Archon. You won't feel it, you won't intuit it, you'll see it. With your physical eyes, find a space where you can sit comfortably with low light. Not complete darkness. You want a neutral field of vision, so soften your gaze. This is crucial. Most people, when trying to see something, concentrate more intensely. They force their attention, trying to look directly at what they are looking for. That's exactly the opposite of what you should do. You should spread your gaze, relax your eye muscles, let your vision become slightly unfocused so that you're not looking at anything specific. You're just seeing the entire field all at once. This will seem uncomfortable at first because you're not used to seeing it this way. Your eyes want to focus, your brain wants a target, but you maintain a soft, receptive gaze rather than a searching one. And while maintaining that soft gaze, pay attention to your peripheral awareness. Don't move your eyes to it. Just notice what's there on the edges of your vision, while your central vision remains soft and unfocused. In the first few minutes, you'll start to notice things you normally filter out. Small movements in the air, shadows that shift when nothing physical is moving, shapes that don't correspond to any object in the room. Most people's first instinct is to look directly at these shapes. And the moment they do that, the shapes disappear. That's the filter in action. Your central vision programming is still eliminating what your peripheral vision detected. So don't look directly. Keep your gaze soft. Acknowledge the movement in your peripheral awareness, but don't chase it with focus. Just keep your gaze soft and let your brain slowly realize that what you're seeing in the periphery isn't going away. It's consistent. It's present. After 7 to 10 minutes of practice, your brain begins to allow more than just peripheral vision to reach consciousness. The filter begins to relax, and that's when you'll see your first Archon. It won't be as you expect. Archons don't appear as solid three-dimensional beings. They appear as semi-transparent distortions in the air, like heat waves, like a glow that has a vague shape but no defined contours. Some chosen ones describe them as shadows with depth, others as dark smoke that moves intentionally, still others as vaguely humanoid figures that seem to be made of static. What you see will depend on what type of Archon you perceive and how dense its manifestation is at that moment. The first time you see one clearly, your immediate reaction will be to question whether you are really seeing it or imagining it. This doubt is normal, but here's how you'll know it's real. It will react to your attention. The moment you clearly perceive it, it will move, either toward you, to intensify its influence, or away from you, because it recognizes that it has been seen. This movement, this response to your consciousness, is what confirms that you are not imagining. Imagination does not react to being observed. Real entities react. Once your eyes learn to detect Archons, you'll start seeing them in unexpected places. And what you'll notice immediately is just how common they are. They are not rare. They are everywhere. Most people walk around with at least one Archon, connected to their energy field, at any given moment. And in certain environments, churches, government buildings, hospitals, places where the emotional density is high, you will see dozens of them grouped together. The first place where most of the chosen ones notice them is in their own home. You will be sitting in your room and you will perceive movement in a corner. You will soften your gaze and see it, a dark shape crouching on the ceiling or pressed against a wall. Just observing? Most of the time it's not actively attacking. It's observing, waiting for an emotional trigger, fear, anger, hatred, despair that it can feed on. And the moment you generate that emotion, he comes closer. You'll see him approach. You'll see him position himself near your chest or your head, and you will feel the energy drain happening in real time. But here's what makes visibility so powerful. The moment you see it, the moment you recognize what's happening, the energy drain stops working. Because you are no longer unconsciously generating the emotion. You are conscious of it. You are observing it. And conscious emotion doesn't feed the Archons in the same way that unconscious emotion does. They need you not to know. They need you to think the emotion is entirely yours. The moment you recognize that there is an entity trying to feed on that emotion, the emotional state changes. It becomes information instead of food. You will also begin to see them connected to other people. This is more difficult to observe because you will realize how many people you interact with daily are being actively manipulated without having any idea. You will be talking to someone, and you will see an Archon leaning over your shoulder or close to your head. And when that person says something cruel, irrational, or self-destructive, you will see the Archon's pulse. You will see it intensify its pressure, and you will immediately recognize that that idea did not originate from the person. It was implemented. Some chosen ones report seeing Archons consistently in specific locations, certain corners of certain rooms, door frames, ceilings, basements. These are anchor points, places where the veil between dimensions is thin enough for the Archons to maintain a more stable presence. And once you know where the anchor points are in your home, you can eliminate them, not through elaborate rituals, but through awareness. You look directly into the space. You recognize what is there, and he declares, "I see you." You have no power here. Leave, and most of the time they do leave. Not because you banished them with spiritual authority, but because you removed your covering. And the anchor points don't stay where they're constantly seen. The most unsettling observation points happen when you start seeing them in public. You'll be in a busy space, a store, a subway, a stadium, and you'll see the Archons moving through the crowd like predators. They aren't attached to anyone specifically. They are scanning. searching for the person who is transmitting the frequency they feed on. And when they find their target, they connect. You will see it happen. You will see the Archon connect to an energy field, and in seconds the person's behavior will change. They will become more tired, more agitated, more disconnected. It's the start of the meal. And here's the dilemma the chosen ones struggle with the most. You can't simply warn these people. If you go up to a stranger and say there's an entity attached to you, he'll think you're crazy. So you observe, you witness, and do the only thing you can do. Maintain your own practice of visibility, so that the Archons don't do to you what they are doing to everyone else around you who cannot see. Jesus taught the chosen ones to see the Archons with their physical eyes, not with spiritual vision, but with real vision, because visibility is what they fear most, more than any practice of prayer or spirituality. When you can see them, you cannot be hopeless. You can't convince yourself that you're imagining the attack. You're observing it happening, and conscious observation breaks the feeding mechanism. The technique is a gentle gaze, low light, relaxed focus, peripheral awareness. Practice for 10 minutes daily for 7 days, and you will see your first Archon. And once you see it, once you confirm to yourself that these entities are real, are present and operate around you, everything changes. You're no longer defending yourself blindly. You're navigating in a visible field. And that visibility is a power they can't take away from you. Find a quiet space tonight, dim the lights, soften your gaze for 10 minutes, and look what's there. You're not imagining anything. You're just removing the filter that's hiding what's always been there. And once you see them, once you look directly at an Archon and observe how it reacts to being seen, you will never again question whether this is real. They are here, and now you can see them. If you're ready to begin your visibility journey, comment below visible.